those that already know Mitch, I've called him Detective Monk. For those who watch the show Monk, he's the only person I've ever invited to speak in my program because I just Monk is a good characterization. He sees things that other people don't see, uh, kind of Sherlock Holmes-ish in terms of their sales and how they attract customers. He just can spot those. He does this great second opinion where he just takes the challenges that you have with your business and just solves them. So he always cracks the case. I put Jay Abraham's quote up here because I thought this would be a better intro. Most everyone knows Jay Abraham. He's at the top of everyone's list. If he's in an event, he's the keynote speaker. And this is what he had to say about Mitch. And many of you, I'm sure, know Brian Tracy as well. You can see what Brian had to say about his technique being more responsible for boosting folks in the top 10 than any trainer alive. And I believe it. Welcome, Mitch.
Hey, Matt. I
Hey,
am
Mitch.
pleasure to be here. My dad was a New York City cop, uh, and he used to say, "All that sounds great. That and 250 will get you on the New York subway." So the idea that all I've done in the past that's wonderful, but in business, the old saw of "What have you done for me lately?" So we're going to do our best today, Matt and I. And Matt, why don't you, instead of what they say, why don't you tell a little bit about what we're aiming to do and why we're partnering and collaborating on this project? Give a little background just on that, and then we'll kind of open this thing up to this is actually going to be training. So I really want you to come out and play uh, because this isn't a lecture. This isn't me speaking. I'm not here to give presentation. We're here to help you grow your business, and that involves 6 steps. You have to attract the right kind of people. Then you have to determine who's qualified, who's not. And then you have to do the one thing that over 45 years in business, I found to be the biggest, weakest link in the vast majority of businesses that I've worked with. And that is, how do you convert somebody into a buyer, into a customer? And then on the back end, there's three more steps that are often forgotten about because the most of the training that I've experienced, and I've seen a lot over the last 45 years, it's very much heavily focused on getting a customer. All right. But the idea that you make a sale is not to make a sale. The idea of making a sale is to get a customer, not just to make a sale, because on the back end, there's a whole lot more potential buying power, referral power, introductions, networking, joint ventures, not to mention potential new business. So on the back end, you want to keep customers, then you want to multiply your ROI. ROI is return on investment, and then return. You have to get return of investment before you get return on investment. And then if you've been in business any length of time, you may have past customers, inactive customers, dormant customers who bought from you at one point, and that's a goldmine of opportunity for many companies. And I'm going to call you a company because if you're a company of one, you're still a company, you're still a business. And what I call reactivation riches. For some businesses, I was in the insurance and financial planning business for the first 10 years of my career. And insurance companies have tons of customers. They only typically reach or speak to 5% of their customers every year. There's a biggest insurance company who has the biggest customer base in America is MetLife. You probably heard of them. MetLife, on average, every year reaches only 4% of their customers. That means 96% of their customers don't hear from their agent every year. Can you imagine a business where 96% of the customers never hear from the person who sold you the product? And the irony about it is that in the insurance business, on average, people buy 5 to 7 insurance policies over the course of their lifetime. Take a guess how many the average insurance agent gets of those 5 to 7. 2.
1 or 2.
2. That's it. 2. Can you imagine leaving that much money on the table and, more importantly, being able to service people long term so that you build a business where 50, 60, 70% of your new business comes from repeat customers and referrals? And I did a lot of training for MetLife back in the 1990s. And I spoke with the board and I spoke with the CEO and the CMO. And I said, why are you spending so much money? You own about 40% of the market. Why don't you just talk to your existing customers? But they were stuck in a mindset. And the mindset was, well, we have to spend money to get new customers because we lose customers every year. Why do you think they lost customers every year? Do you think it might have something to do with the fact that nobody spoke with them?
Well, probably the one time they spoke to him, Mitch, was the annual survey. That's what I always loved. Once a year.
Right.
There's my email from him.
It's so a lot of this business is common sense. You know, you like to be treated like you would like to treat people. A friend of mine who I've known for 30 years, Tony Alessandra, wrote a lot of books on sales, very famous speaker as well. And he came up with the platinum rule. The platinum rule is don't treat others as you would like to be treated. Treat others as they would like to be treated. And I think of all the things that I've been able to develop as a skill, it's the ability to sit in somebody's seat, see through their eyes, walk in their shoes, and then you get a taste of what life is like to work with people and to see what it is that they're thinking. We're going to ask you today, because this is actually a live training and we're here to help you. So when Matt and I started working together about a year ago, I guess maybe was pretty much.
Yeah.
And we recognized that there's a tremendous need for training, for business advice. And we both come kind of out of a similar vein, but he comes at this from a different angle than I do. And I've trained 1 million people over the last 45 years in person, most of them in person until we went to Zoom and virtual. And I can tell you that the vast majority of people that I've trained have never really had good quality training, business training, sales training, not the old game of sales like your pen or mine, overcoming objections, all that. We have a totally new game. I started, I guess, about 30 years ago teaching the new game of selling. I wrote the book, it's 10 years ago now. This year, we're coming out with the new game of service. And the new game of selling and the new game of service has contributed to $3 billion of revenue for major corporations all the way across the spectrum to tabletop home business owners. I've trained about 50,000 word of mouth network marketers. I've trained just about 100, I think 250,000 women have participated in this training. So if you're here to help yourself, do everything you can to have us help you help yourself, all right? So what I'd like you to do is think about these 3 things, because it's really what we want to address. Number 1 is, why are you here? What drew you here to begin with, right? Second thing, what's in your way? What's in your way, whether it be a methodology, my mindset, my way of thinking, what is holding you back, if you will? And everybody know this is confidential. We're not going to, obviously you don't want to share something personal. That's okay. And then what do you want? What do you want so that at the end of this session, you will feel fulfilled. You'll feel that you've gotten what you came to. And this is kind of a mixed group. Matt, maybe you'll explain that. This is the first of a series of the 6 training sessions. And what we've done is we've added this to our training so that each and every one of you over the 6 sessions that we're together, you're going to make sure that you get everything you need, both in terms of training and guidance and interaction, as well as our library of incredible material, which we are going to introduce to a couple of people who are here who are not yet part of our group. Okay, so those of you who are already in our group, you'll indulge us for a few minutes because those people are kind of on the fence and we're wondering about what we're doing. We're at about 30 minutes in or so. We're going to show you what we're doing. And if you want to join us for the remainder of this journey, you're more than welcome. So those are the 3 questions I want you to kind of come out and discuss, either one or more. And Matt, anything you want to add?
Just that Marjorie jumped right in with her hand up, so we'll definitely pick her first. Or we can just start there. I'll chip in some more as we go along.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Mitch, I love your 6 steps for success in business. And as I was typing, my fingers missed number 2. I've got to attract the right people for number 1.
Qualify your buyer.
Okay. Oh, thank you very much.
Let me go through it. Attract, qualify, convert. Those are the new game of selling steps. You have to attract people who you're best suited to serve. You have to qualify them, whether they're a real buyer or not. And I'm going to give you things as we go along, and I'm going to drop these nugget bombs here. So please pay attention to when we're coaching someone else, because it may be the very thing you need.
And I just want to make one comment. You talked about common sense. My latest motto is that sense is not common.
Unfortunately. And, part of this, let me preface something. I didn't say this. Back in the day, and I mean in the day, like in the 60s and the early 70s, early 50s, 60s, 70s, when I grew up, there was a football coach, American football, named Vince Lombardi. Have you heard of him? Okay. Vince Lombardi was considered the greatest coach in the history of football at the time. And he started every spring training. He held up a football and he said, "This is a football." No kidding.
That's the basics.
That's the basics. He said, if you become brilliant on the basics of football, blocking, tackling, throwing, and catching, I can tell the defense exactly what play I'm going to run, and I can run it successfully anyway. You know why? Because my guys are going to be so good on the execution that we can tell you what play we're going to run, and we're going to run it right over you. Can you imagine? And he would drill and drill and drill on the fundamentals. Today, we're in a whole different world. Basics, I could tell you, I have trained so many people who don't know the basics of business. They don't know the basics of how you attract, qualify, and convert. They don't know the basics of how they communicate, how you ask questions, how you determine if a person is really a serious buyer or a tire kicker. So we're not going to talk about AI. Hooray! We're not going to talk about all the newest fangled tricks and gimmicks to get people to buy, because our game is not about getting people to buy. Our game is about attracting the people you're best suited to serve and position yourself as, if not the only choice, the best choice. And you don't have to have the best product, the best service. People buy. When I started doing training full-time in 1988, I said there were 3 things that could distinguish you that people are looking for. Number 1, they were looking for value added, and that's become a common term today. Number 2, they wanted a trusted advisor, and we were the first company to introduce trusted advisors. In fact, it landed me on the front page of the insurance industry publication in 1989. 1 million people saw that, because we were saying to them, look, everybody has products, everybody has services. How do you distinguish yourself? If you're the trusted advisor, the 3rd step was provide an adequate solution. Of course, nobody knows what the best solution is. In fact, I'd really caution you against using the word best. There is no best. What could be best today could be gone tomorrow. What wasn't today could be the best tomorrow. People aren't looking for the best. And in fact, if they are, then you have to leave it to them, or you have to ask them, how will you determine what's the best solution? And are you really looking for the best, or are you looking for the right solution? Words matter. We're going to talk in our training a lot about words. One word can make a whole difference in communication. Adding a word, eliminating a word, all right?
Yeah.
So a big part of this comes down to the basics. If we can help you get really good at knowing who you're going after, attracting the right people, knowing how to qualify, and I'm going to give you a phrase right now to help you qualify people with one question. Are you ready, or are you getting ready? Are you ready, or are you getting ready? See, sales training in the old game was all about convincing people to buy your product. And that's why they have to have chapters, sections, modules on overcoming objections. All right. We have the only sales training library collection I know of, and then maybe another, where there is absolutely no training on overcoming objections. Why do you think that might be? Just come out and say it if you think you know the answer.
Because you don't want people buying who don't want what you're offering.
Yes, that's true. But what do you object to? Tell me what pressure. What else do you object to? By the way, you can come out off your mute and just talk. Okay, you can come. This is a group setting, but make believe we're around a round table and we're having a conversation amongst ourselves. What do you object to?
People pushing me to get something that I don't really want.
Bingo. That is the answer. How many of you object to getting what you want and need?
I was going to give you my answer, but now that you said Marjorie's was correct, I'm going to keep mine to myself.
No, you can.
You know, there's more than one possible right answer in this world,
There's
man.
many answers.
Yeah, my answer is I object to someone assuming they know what I want.
Sure.
Mm.
Now,
And that comes
you-
down to the same thing of pressuring me to buy something that I don't want because and it's not necessarily an assumption, but there's also that.
It's a lack of respect as well.
Yeah.
and people who don't ask questions, the
Mm.
right question at the right time in the right order, wind up getting more objections because they just tend to spew. And it's not an engaged conversation. And that was the old model of selling. Hi, Gigi, nice to meet you. I see you have kids. Oh, you play football. Oh, great. Let's get together. We're friends. Now, let me pitch you. And very little emphasis on asking questions to
Mhm.
determine where are you in the buying cycle? Are you really ready? Are you committed? Okay, we're going to give you between our live training and our library of content, we're going to show you exactly where to go to get the right questions to ask. All right. So why don't we have a section on overcoming objections? Because people who play the new game of selling and service do not get objections because they don't try to sell people what they don't want and need. And that's a radical, radical shift from the old game of selling. Okay. So, Roar, you want to come out, ask a question? You have
His,
your hand
his
up.
hand's getting tired holding his hand up all this
I
time.
see that.
There you go, Roar.
You have to unmute. You have to unmute your phone.
He disappeared.
Unmute.
No,
Thank you.
the Hollywood
Thanks.
Square just bopped over to another place.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mitch. It's not as much a question, but it's first a comment. And a comment is a couple of times back when I first listened to you, and you showed us these 6 steps, and you said focus on step 4 to 6. And I went back and I stopped continuing the new approach to the new clients, and I found where do I have my old clients that have been buying from me several times, the low-hanging fruit. And I found a product that I'm working with negotiation training and advising. So I have produced some films and I offer them to them. I had them in my store. It was kind of easy to unpack and deliver it. And I reached out to the first client and he said, yeah, a little bit back and forth. And I gained $15,000 in a 30 minutes work. So I think that was kind of the approach that you showed. It was just, why haven't I thought about that? Why didn't I just pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, I have these 10 short introductory movies about negotiation. You should have them in addition to the training. And we simply agreed on the price quite easy. And I earned $15,000 in 30 minutes. Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah, by the way, this is applause in American Sign Language, which is the right kind of applause for Hollywood Squares.
So, was that before you signed up for a program?
It's a kickback, huh?
So,
yeah, it was.
by the way, we didn't set this up, right?
No,
That's right.
we didn't
It's
set
just-
this up. I just wanted to comment it because, I saw some familiar faces here, but also saw some new ones. And as you have now told us, again, it's the low-hanging fruit. It's turning the first chapters in the book and make it easy. So I have reduced on the new sales approach. I've found back to the old ones, and I'm, steering that soup again and finding the old recipes. And I had this, I did this during COVID when it was a total breakdown in all on-site training. So I thought, hey, I needed a new product. And then after COVID, I just left it. And you reminded me, why didn't I pick it up again? So that was the comment I wanted to give.
Thank you very much for that. this can happen fast.
Yeah.
Part of it is a shift in context. And context, they say content is king, but context is the kingdom.
Hmm.
And the context of a relationship and a conversation determines the content. So if you establish the context, I'm here, this sounds corny, except to the old timers, and I'm an old timer, so I can say that. When I was 16 years old, 15, I got my first real job in what's known as a luncheonette. And a luncheonette is a place where you serve food over the counter to people sitting at a counter and some tables in the back. And we would actually make the food and serve it. And back then, this is the early 1970s, I would get 10 cents, 15 cents, 25 cents as a tip. Okay. One day, a guy calls me over. He says, "Hey, Mitch, come here." And he grabs my hand and he stuffs a dollar bill in my hand. Now, I thought he was trying to pay his bill because the average bill was like $2, $1.50. He says, "No, that's for you." And I couldn't believe it. It's the first time I ever got a dollar. He said, "You were clean, you were fast, you were polite, you came over and talked to me." And then he stared into my eyes and he said, "Mitch, you're worth it." Nobody ever said that to me before. How many times have people said to you in your entire business career, "You're worth it"? It changed my life. And what I realized, and has become literally my business mantra, and I think a million people will attest to it, I love and serve people, and they reward me with their money.
May I have a second comment?
Yes.
Because you also mentioned now today, it's not being the best; it's being the right and the right for your client. And I have turned clients down because I have said I'm not the right one for you when they have asked me to do several things. And I've seen the benefit of that coming back. And I've used the slogan that you talked about now, your trusted advisor. That's my slogan on my webpage. And I can see the benefit from turning down clients that is not in the line of what you would like to do. And if they challenge you to do something differently and, in the outline of what you have decided is your focus. And I've seen the great benefits of that, because then they have seen me as someone that is not doing anything or everything for money, but are coming back when it's really needed.
Yep.
That was my second comment.
Great. You've already seen the results of a little shift in the way you approach things. So I want to really encourage you to kind of, talk about what your issues are. This was great because it shows you that big doors swing on little hinges. I wasn't the first to say it, but I kind of popularized that phrase because I look for the little hinge that'll open the big door. And sometimes, because I've trained a lot of newbies, meaning not age, but people new to business, I ask them a question. Would you rather be asked a question that you don't know the answer to, or would you rather ask a question that you don't know the answer to? And the vast majority of newbies would be scared to death to be asked a question that they don't know the answer to, because their mindset is, "Oh, I have to be a product expert. So let me make sure I know everything about my product." But the reality is nobody knows everything, and the client doesn't necessarily need to know everything. So my answer to that fear or apprehension when I was asked questions I didn't know the answer to, instead of me trying to mask it or kind of skirt the issue, I would say right out, what a great question. I don't know the answer. Let's find out together. And people would be like, oh, great. Or I would say, you know what? I don't have the answer to that question, but I have people behind me associated with me who have all the knowledge I could possibly want, and I'll get that answer. So I would really go against the grain of training people to immerse themselves in product knowledge and be completely ignorant about basic communication. And that's how too many companies train their people. Like, if you learn everything about the product, then you'll never be asked a question you don't know the answer to. I want to be asked questions I don't have the answer to. But I'm a professional and I'm experienced like many of you. So some small hinges that we're going to cover in our journey together are going to open up huge doors of opportunity. Like, are you ready or are you getting ready? You don't talk to a ready buyer the same way you talk to a getting ready buyer. Have you ever met anybody in your life who spends their whole life getting ready?
I have prospects
I'm
like
one of
that have
those
been getting
people.
ready for a couple of years now.
Yeah,
Also, I'm one of those people.
I'm still getting ready. Not there yet. The question is, okay, I can fine. I'm fine. What is going to take you from getting ready to being ready? Rather than me say, oh, you should be ready, and let me give you 7 reasons why you should be ready right now. I don't want to coerce anybody to do anything. I don't want to persuade them in the old vernacular. I want people to make a good buying decision that's in their best interest. And if I'm the person who has the product, service, solution, great. If I'm not, I do what Roar does. I say, you know what? Maybe we're not a good match. However, I can send you to somebody, or I will help you find somebody if I know somebody. And how many times have I gotten business from people who didn't do business with me? Why? Because of that very thing. I'm here to show people what I can have, how can I love and serve them. Now, if you don't want to be loved and served, and you just want a transaction, I'm okay with that if I have the solution. However, I'm not in the transactional business. I'm in the long-term customer relationship business, because relationship capital is one of your most valuable, intangible assets. And you've built up, no matter what age you are, you've built up a tremendous amount of relationship capital. And in the course of these sessions, we're going to show you how to liberate it, tap it. We're going to give you a model called rejection-proof networking. Question: anybody have a little bit of apprehension, fear of rejection, they call it? A little, even just a tinge of fear of talking to people, just a little bit.
Yeah, but, okay.
By
This-
the way, Mitch, you were referring to the 3 most difficult words for people to say, I don't know, because, our little human ego doesn't want to admit that. And you want to know what the 4 most difficult words are to say? I
What's
made a mistake.
Mm.
Well, as you get older and you mature, you begin to realize those are the easiest words to say, because they open up the space for healing if you made a mistake and you can move on. And if you don't know something, what a great opportunity to fill that gap if necessary. All right. So we're going to go against a lot of traditional methods of what you would call selling and service. So essentially, contextually, if you can maintain that mind, and I don't call it a mindset, because a mindset is a set mind. The mind should be open, not set.
You mean a
The mind
mental
should be
approach?
flexible. The mind should be pliable. The mind should be open to new information and feedback. All right, Matt, you had a comment you want to make?
Oh, well, I
No,
did, but Marjorie, what were you saying? A muddled
I,
mind?
I just said, did you mean a mental approach rather than a mind approach?
I don't follow.
No, I just was wondering if that was a better description of what you meant. That's all.
I'm not trying to describe anything except draw the distinction between a mindset, which is a set mind. See, I've a lot of colleagues who do mindset training. They're just trying to replace one set mind with another set mind, one belief with another belief. All right. So let me throw out an amazing quote to you. And you can see the kind of training we do is very much in the moment. And if you don't ask questions, if you don't pose your challenges, I'll just keep riffing. But I don't want to just keep riffing. All right.
Mary does have a question. Mary, do you mind if I paraphrase that, or did you want to? It looks like you didn't have a microphone. I thought it might be a question I was thinking of myself about what it takes to be ready. Like, is it as simple as asking a client, "Are you ready?" You know, because I know I've lost a lot of prospects because I thought they were ready. They gave every indication they were ready, but apparently I missed something because they weren't ready. So, Mary, I don't know if that was your question about not sure what it will take to be ready. Okay, she says yes. So, is it as simple as asking a client, or is there something deeper here?
Great question, Mary. Actually, that's the first of 4 criteria.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
There are 4 criteria to have a real buyer. And when you go into the conversion module or game plan, excuse me?
Oh, go ahead. I'm going to mute her for a moment.
There are, when you go into the conversion game plan, you're going to see that these are the 4 criteria that you have to establish before you present a solution. I know that this is radical. Number 1 is ready. And why maybe Matt and others will say they're ready, but they don't pull the trigger is because you're missing 1 or more of the other 3. Number 2, committed. You can be ready, but you're not committed. Like, who isn't ready to get wealthy? Yeah! Are you really committed to do what it takes? Number 3, willing. You can be committed and ready, but if you're not actually willing to do something, like if you're here and you're committed and you're ready to improve your revenue, make this game a lot easier, a lot more fun, but you're not willing to do some of what we recommend, then it's going to be hard just by being ready and committed, because those are states of mind. But when it comes to willingness is a state of doing, not being. So you have to be ready and committed. The willing part is the doing part. And then the 4th criterion is able. And so many people don't qualify a buyer for ability, able, money, time, bandwidth, resources. So before I even get into making a suggestion, a recommendation, a solution, I need to know that you're ready, committed, willing, and able. Now, let's say you're ready, committed, and willing, and you're not able for whatever reason. Let's say it's money, which is the number 1 reason people say they don't go forward. The truth is, money is almost never the real reason. It's a mask. It's the easiest way to say, I had somebody the other day say to me, well, I just don't have the money. Okay, when will you? Then she had no answer to that question. Have you ever asked somebody to finance you, to loan you money, to do something that was important to you? If you're really ready, committed, and willing, you can find somebody who will support you because you're ready, committed, and willing to do whatever it takes. That's the criteria I use, and I don't loan money per se, but I back people. I give them a leg up. I help them with resources, but I won't tap into my resources if I am not certain that you're ready, committed, and willing. Because if I give you resources, relationships, if I help you produce results, but you're not really committed and willing to do what's necessary, I'm putting myself on the line. So you're going to find out when you go into, and we're going to talk a lot about conversion, but before we talk about converting, we have to talk about attracting and qualifying the right kind of people. And what you're going to discover is the new game is selling, except for brand new people who have no customers. Then it's a little different, all right? But for anybody who's been in business or has customers, where you really start is what Roar said earlier. You're going to go back to your existing customers, however many there are, or past customers. You're going to go into the KEEP game plan, and you're going to go into the 5 questions of service. So, by a show of hands, and I would really love to see those of you who have got your cameras off, if you could participate verbally as well or through the chat. How many of you have asked every single one of your customers, why did you buy from me? Raise your hand if you've asked all your customers, why did you buy from me? Okay, so first exercise that you're going to do between now and our next session, and I'm going to expand on this as well, is you're going to go out and you're going to ask your best customers who you want more of, why did you buy from me? Why did you choose me? What made you select me and or our company? And then there are 4 other questions in the 5 questions of service. These 5 questions have produced $250 million in revenue for my clients over the years. 5 questions. Do you believe 5 questions could be so powerful that they could generate $250 million in revenue?
Well, Mitch, can I ask our group, because I think you had said before that you've rarely been asked this question yourself. So I guess by a show of hands or whatever, how many of you were paying for a service, you were paying for something, how many of those people asked you specifically, hey, Marjorie, hey, Mary, hey, Ryan, why did you buy from me and not buy from somebody else? It's just rare.
Anybody? Can
Just
you
rare.
remember anybody asking you that question?
Because I would have given an answer if somebody would have asked me. I would have felt like, oh, I'm giving advice that I would have felt good about telling them why I did, but nobody's asked.
And Matt is the master of survey conversations. All right. The main focus being conversations. Now,
Would you
what did-
kindly repeat those questions?
You just said question 1 so far, right? Ask your client, why did you buy from me?
I'm not okay. I could give you the questions, but I want you to go into the training to actually absorb what's going on here. All right. So before I give you the other questions, let me tell you the amazing payoff. If you just ask that one question, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to make a declarative statement, which I don't do often because I like questions, but I'll do it in this case. You are not selling what people are buying. And people are not buying what you're selling. How could I say that? Come on, Mitch. Here's why I say that. You're selling advantages, features, benefits. They're buying an experience. Not if you're selling convenience items or, little trinkets, but if you're in a service business and you're spewing advantages, features, benefits, without having gone to your customers and saying, why did you buy from me? What was your experience of working with me? What was that little hinge that caused you to say yes before you said yes? If you do a variation of those things, and that one question you could go very deep into, and you ask that question of your best customers who you want more of, you now have discovered your USA, unique service advantage. How many of you are familiar with the term USP, unique selling proposition? You familiar with that? Okay. Who creates it?
I do.
Right.
You
You
do.
do.
We do.
And where do you create it from?
What I think they want.
Yeah, it's great. I didn't set this up, believe me. It happens every time. You create it from up here. Now, maybe you'll do a focus group or whatever. Companies spend ridiculous amount of money on focus groups. What Matt and I are going to be going into companies, and we're going to totally blow them up, because when you think about it, who cares what a focus group says? Because they're not buyers. Why don't you go back to your buyers and ask them the very same questions? Hey, we're coming out with a new product. First question is, why did you buy from us originally? And you go through well, we're coming out with something new, and we really like to get the opinion, the feedback, the contribution of our clients or customers as to what you feel about this new product. And by the way, if you come out with a new product, who should be the first people that get offered it?
Your customers.
So why do companies spend billions a year,
Mm.
strangers, focus groups, and then they make billion-dollar or multi-million-dollar decisions on people who are just giving their opinion, who have no vested interest in their business? It's bass backwards. It's crazy. So now, when you have a USA, unique service advantage, you can go out to your prospects, anybody, and you can say, when they say, why should I buy from you? You start with 4 words, and none of them are the word I. My clients tell me. What do your clients tell you? I had this conversation 30 years ago with a corporate VP. I said, you have consultants coming in and out of here every day. You have trainers you're paying on staff. Why me? He said, Mitch, you're the first guy to come in here and break down the walls between marketing, sales, and service, and create a holistic, integrated process. And as a result, now we are better able to attract, convert, and keep customers. I said, can I see that? He said, yeah, I'll write it down. So when people come to me, now, of course, I'm a little seasoned, I have a reputation, but early on, people didn't know who I was. And I could say, well, I work with Prudential and MetLife. It's like, who cares? But when I say, very humbly, my clients tell me, I'm really good at helping you attract, convert, keep, and multiply customers. Which one of those would you like to do better? How would you like to have an opening statement like that? Well, I guarantee, okay, I can't guarantee, I promise that you will have that by the second session. By the end of our second session, you will have a statement as powerful or close to it if you do the work. Because if you ask the best customers, the ones you want more of, why should you buy from me? And then the second question, how do you feel about the work we've done? How do you feel about the work we've done? We've done. What have you gotten out of it? How have you benefited? And not like, hey, Marjorie, you're good. I like you. No. So I'm going to give you the formula, and I am skipping around, and that's why it's important that you pay attention, because when something comes up, I'm going to share it with you rather than just defer it, because my mind I don't have the same memory I used to. So I'm going to give you a formula called RIPE, R-I-P-E, and it's in your training. It's in the Multiply Your ROI game plan, RIPE. And this is what you're going to try to determine once you talk to your customers. R, results. I, improvement. P, progress. E, experience. I can do everything I need to do about finding out how well my clients are doing by asking them, what results have you gotten? Quantifiable results. Well, Laura already gave us testimony to his results. I, improvement. What improvement have you seen in your skills, in your conversation? What improvement do you have in terms of qualifying and attracting the right kinds of people you're best suited to serve? P, progress. Tell me the progress you've made. Where are you happiest about how you're progressing? Qualitatively, I'm feeling better. I'm more confident. I'm more efficient with my time. Quantifiably, I've made progress. I have more qualified leads. I'm converting at a higher percentage. I'm going back to my existing clients. I'm getting more business. And maybe the most important, well, equally important, what's your experience of working with me, with us, with our company? Matt and I are on the verge of finding out this week or next with a $50 million, $60 million company. We have a proposal into them. And one of the main things we're going to do is we're going to survey and communicate with their 100,000 fans, evangelists. They don't communicate with them. They talk at them, but they have no idea what motivates them, what inspires them. We'll get them to actually talk more about their products, and all you have to do is ask. So you can use that RIPE formula, and I explain it a little more in detail, and I have also a special report that details it in the archives. If you know the results your clients are getting, you know how they're improving, you know the progress they're making, and you know their experience of you, you are in a position where you can actually increase your income by raising your fees if you charge by fees. And we are going to show you how to get to value, just Anybody here charge fees beyond selling a product? Could you put your hand up so I know?
Mhm.
Okay, few of you, good, almost all of you, great. So we're going to show you probably in session 3 how you can escalate from time and project to value pricing and experience pricing. If you could just escalate from time to project or from project to value pricing on 1 out of every 10 clients, you will add 10 to 20% of your income with no more work. Who's up for that? Okay, very important. You don't know what you're worth. You have no idea what you're worth. All right? So let's take a second here. We've kind of come through along. I'm going to take a 1-minute break. I'll leave it to you to converse. And when I come back, I'm going to show those of you who are not already part of our training, if you'd like to continue this, what you can do to continue. We'll take about 5 minutes to do that. Then we'll come back and continue our conversation. So, Matt, if you'll just take over for a few minutes.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, this is great. This is, kind of the theme of this conversation was how to simplify 2024 and get back to the basics. At least for me, but just my head's been exploding. In 2023 was the head explosion year because I kept being told you need AI, you need, the chat bots and LinkedIn. You need to write to your, email your list so often. Just being told all this stuff, and it was just such an overload. I don't know if everyone has that same same thing going on, but it was just very stressful. This is a stressful year, I think, because I was listening to too many voices at once about how my business is going to be taken over by AI and such. It hasn't happened yet. I guess I'm still in business, but that was what we had planned for today's talk and for the next few sessions was to try to simplify, get back to the basics. Hey, Aurora, I got your note. Thank you. So that's why I was prodding Mitch to give a few of these examples, like asking your customers, why did you buy from me? And he has many more of that sort as well. For those of you in the modules, have you had any trouble like navigating through, or maybe you haven't had a chance to?
I haven't
Yep.
logged in yet, and my link is now expired.
Oh.
So I can give you one. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
let me jot that down. I'll resend that to you, Gigi.
For Mitch's program.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yep, I will send that to you as
Telling
soon
them.
as we're finished here. Is there any questions that came up? I haven't been looking for hands or anything with your own projects that you've been working on.
I'd just
Yes.
like to make a comment, which really struck me when we were looking at the 4 criteria of whether you have a real buyer. And I've realized that that's also something that I am, and that I need to focus on myself. It's am ready, committed, willing, able, just to run my business. Am I ready? Am I committed? Am I willing? Because I'm starting something new and I'm struggling with those 4 issues. And it's really interesting. It makes me realize that I need to stop and think what somebody else is going through from a personal experience as a buyer. When I finally transition from setting up the business to now selling the service.
That's
get
insightful. I
it.
like that.
I get it. I really get what those mean.
Yeah, but it goes back to that point that your people are people, and the
Shared
obstacles.
experience.
Yeah, what they're going through is what you're going through. So exactly right. All right, so we're what are we at here? Half past the hour here. Mitch had something to share, and then I guess we're going to go back and finish up with a couple more of your questions. Of Mitch's 4 or 5 questions he was going to ask.
Yeah, well, I'm most interested at this point in finding out what you need so that we can make sure that we address, in addition to what we want to share, we make sure that you get all the advice and counsel and guidance. I really appreciate what Gigi just said. because it's very insightful to realize that these are the questions we have to ask ourselves before we ask other people. And you may find that they're one of those 4 questions. It's kind of easy to figure out if you're ready and committed, right? And usually you know if you're willing. But able is a different matrix. You may have the money, you may have the resources, but you don't have the bandwidth, let's say, right? Or you may have the bandwidth, you may have all the time in the world, but you're not really sure if you're in the right business or doing the right thing. You need somebody to be able to talk it through with you, all right? And we're going to show you as we go along, especially when we get to talk more about converting, why so many people and businesses waste an enormous amount of time trying to convince people that they should be ready, they should be committed, they should be willing, they should have the resources, rather than getting to the root of why don't they?
Mm.
Right? I cannot motivate anybody to do anything. But if you're motivated, if you're committed, and you're ready and you're willing, I can bring that forth. The old game of selling was all about just selling your product to people, whether they were ready or not, committed or not, willing, have the money. We have resources, we can get your money. That's not this game. Life is too short to spend your precious moments and minutes, unless you're practicing, that's okay, with people who just want to consume your time and energy. So a big reason that we've been so successful is because we teach our buyers to be better buyers. When I'm done with the conversation with somebody, whether it's 5 minutes or 2 hours, they are a better buyer, whether they do business with me or not, because I will have asked them the questions that they should be asking of me, but don't know the questions to ask. And if at the end of that conversation, they say, you know what, it's not the right time, it's not whatever, I have done them as much of a service, even more of a service, than if I tried to convince them to buy something from me. You're not ready yet. What will it take you to get ready? Is this really the path you want to go down? Are you even looking at the right type of solution for your problem? Do you actually know what the problem is? Do you know what's holding you back? That's what I would like you to at least apprise us of before we get off today, so that we know how to help you best. I don't want to just keep firing off methods and models and frameworks, and they're all great, believe me, they all work, as Roald can attest to, without, even before he joined, right? This is a really personalized kind of training. And to the degree that you're willing to be open, as they say in today's vernacular, vulnerable and authentic and transparent. I wrote a great article about it. It's like, if you're all of a sudden being authentic and vulnerable and transparent, what were you being before you were being vulnerable, authentic, and transparent? Like, were you not being that in our last conversation? You see, everything is hijacked for marketing purposes these days. You know, what we're trying to do is get back to human conversations. And so for those of you who have not joined us, who are guests today, I want to take 5 minutes and kind of show you what the people who have joined us are getting access to. So this is what and why we're doing. So we want to give you a unique advantage to be the trusted voice of choice. We've gone beyond the trusted advisor, because that's more commonplace today. We want you to be the person that they're listening to when they're trying to make a decision, okay? And that puts you in a very powerful position. What's more is we want to show you how to convert and keep more customers and multiply your profits wherever you are, whatever level you're working on. For you to elevate your sales and service game by becoming brilliant on the basics. And then lastly, to ensure that you have the support that you're going to need, we're going to give you access to these things. The $1 Billion Playbook, which I'm going to show you shortly, the 24/7 access to the New Game of Selling and Service video library, and to join us for these 6 training sessions, this being the first of those 6. So the outcomes that we're seeking for you, very simple: become the preferred service provider. And that puts you in a position to actually be, if not at the top of the list, maybe the only game in town. Secondly, this is purely economic, more top line revenue and bottom line profit with virtually no expense. The only expense we're going to ask you to make is to invest in yourself. And then the 3 things that we aim to produce to actualize you as a person, your potential, to maximize your performance in the field of play, and to optimize your profit. So how are we going to do that? Well, you've got to become a top performing player. Attract the true believers, not the heathens. Qualify them so that you know you have a hungry fish on the line. And actually, how do you drop your line into a pool of hungry fish? And I've already given you the first step is by going back and asking your clients, why did you buy from me? And then how do you convert people into buyers using 3 magic words, which we're going to show you in our second or third session. The New Game of Service is how to work on the back end, like Raul said, keep customers for life, preferably, and having them come back for more. Multiply your ROI, and that's return on investment. And we show you 5 ways to do that: bump, bundle, bargain, borrow, and back end. And by the way, all of this stuff is already in your video library. So if you want to, instead of binge watching your favorite Netflix show, you could binge watch the entire training, but you don't have to. And I'll show you why. And then the last step in this process is to reactivate dormant customers, going back to inactive or past customers. So here's what's included. You get our entire library of 6 game plans. You get 24/7 access to that forever. You get the $1 Billion Playbook. Now, this is your toolbox. It has worksheets, checklists, ebooks, all kinds of stuff to guide you through the actual video training. And then the 6 sessions with Matt and myself, group role play, personal attention, etc. When you go online and you get into the back end of our membership site, it's very easy to negotiate. You see the 6 game plans. You can go right into the game plan that matters most to you. So if right now you want to attract more customers, you go into that game plan, you get the materials, you download the playbook, and then you go into video library. And let's say you wanted to multiply your customers by doing a bump, for example. And so you would literally hit the video here, start watching, and all the videos are between, I would say, 6 and 20 minutes, with 1 or 2 going beyond. This is believe me when I tell you, this is 30 years worth of material condensed down, simplified. All these materials guide you through each step of each game plan. You get 6 training sessions with Matt and myself, and we have a start date here of the 25th. Actually, today was the start date, but the next session will probably be in that time frame, and we'll get back to you with a firm date. You get all the replays. They'll be up in the membership area. So let's summarize. We sell the online video library and materials for $19.95. That's our price, all right? And we have it actually publicized, so we're not fictitiously putting values on here that to pump up the value. We're putting the value of our contribution at $6,000 for 6 90-minute sessions, all right? I can tell you that is nowhere near what somebody would pay either of us to have 6 90-minute sessions with us. But because we're working in a group and because we really want you to get the best of us, we're going to be there full bore for 6 sessions, total of $79.95. Now, our normal member price is $19.95. And you can see that it's published. We're giving you a VIP courtesy of $1,000. And we don't normally do this, but Matt and I are building something, and we want you to be the first people to experience it. And over time, we'd love to build this thing out into where we're doing literally either weekly or bi-monthly training. So the VIP pay is one pay for $9.95. Now, I don't usually tell people to borrow money because I don't think it's a good idea. But if there's financial pressure on you, and you just don't have the money and you want to do this, I would actually go so far as to say that if you had to use money, borrow money, whatever, for a business, that I would have no hesitation saying that we're going to help you get that investment back. What do you need? 1 client, 2 clients, 3? You tell us what you need to get your investment back, and we will do our darndest to help you get ROI1, which is return of investment. And then, just like Raul said, once he got that return of it, he's got enough to pay for a year's worth coaching or more. So you go to this site, keepcustomersforever.com, and Matt will put that in the chat. You select the $9.95 payment. You agree to the terms of use, complete your order. You can use PayPal or a credit card. You check out and then check your email for the login and password. And you could literally go in, download all the materials right away to your desktop and start watching the videos either in order, if that's what you prefer, or go right to the game plan that you feel you need help with right now. Identify one of the models or the frameworks that you can use, and then start there. You can use this in any order that you want. Everything is standalone. Everything is self-contained. And that means that you don't have to watch something before it. There's no prerequisite to get the information, no matter where it is in any of the game plans. If you have any questions or need help, questions@feedback9.com. And if there are issues with payment and you have some issues, let us know. We'll do what we can to help you. Okay. If any of you have questions or anything, contact us after, and we'll be happy to discuss with you. So as we wind down here in the first session, I want to make sure that we've addressed your individual needs. And those of you who are in the program already, I want to make sure we know what you need, and anyone else is welcome to come out as well. So in answering to those questions, what do you want most, I guess, to come out of this for you, or what's in your way? So just come on out. You don't have to raise your hand, come off mute, and share with us what you really want out of this program.
I have a question about creating some of the marketing materials for what I'm doing. So, there's going to be a start out for me, which is just going to be very broad, sending out an email or sending out a very basic pitch to potential customers. What I'm doing is very niche. And I know a lot of the people personally that I'm going to be reaching out to, but I also just need to do something broader, and then narrowing that down. Will some of what we're doing help me to be able to understand how to create those pitches, the materials themselves.
It may. What is your business? What are you selling? What are you offering?
I'm doing an events website for a region that where is completely geographically, is very geographically broad. And when people visit the area, they have no idea what's happening there because every event manager puts their information up on their own page. And there's no centralized database. So it's a centralized database of what's happening in a very large geographic area. And I know the people who run the events.
What kind of events?
Everything from a yoga class to fireworks on the 4th of July to a international ski tournament. Everything. I want everything on.
And how will you make money?
I want, there are two. One is to SEO it with a blog, associated blog of things to do in the area besides events, and the other would be either affiliate marketing and then selling a featured sponsorship to an event manager to feature on the site.
Okay, good. I can't say we're going to look at your marketing materials because that's consuming, but we're certainly, as you ask questions and as you say what you need specifically, we're going to help you frame out your business and your opportunity. I already can think of a couple of things that I would want to know before I give you any input. So, yeah, we're going to, the only of what you said, we're not going to dig into your marketing materials. However, if you have like a short blurb or a pitch or something, we'll be happy. And you come and say, hey, here's my pitch. What do you think? If it's not 20 pages, we can use it as a teaching moment.
Excellent.
Because everybody has to market. So there's lessons in everything for everybody. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah,
So
no,
good.
I certainly wouldn't expect you to create my materials or actually review them individually, but I just wanted to know, am I going to be able to take this and say, oh, that letter should say this, and that poster or whatever it is, for example, should say this, and how do I, or should I drill this down and go to individual, those kinds of, I mean, I will figure those out for them myself, but I just want to feel like, yes, I'm going to get the information that's going to say, oh, I mean, I'm already getting some, but yeah.
Yeah. And the bottom line is, unfortunately, you won't know until you test things.
Yes.
So even though you don't have customers now, you have relationships who are going to support this. You're going to go to those relationships and you're going to say to them, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I have put together. Give me some feedback.
Right.
You've got to engage those people in a cooperative, collaborative conversation to help you frame out what you're doing. Because the worst thing you can do is go into your head or a little room, figure it all out and think you got it and put it out there in crickets, and then you're disappointed. Whereas you have these people who are going to either subscribe or they're going to collaborate or they're going to post or whatever. So essentially, it's a combination of affiliate marketing, income, sponsorship, and one or two others, right?
Google AdWords, basically, or that kind of thing on the blog.
I have no knowledge of that, but we can help you in terms of how you position yourself and your
cool.
Okay. Yeah. And we will look at offers, very important, to see where your offer may be working or may not be. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
Marjorie?
Yeah, I would like at the end of the day to have kind of a basic outline of the questions to ask somebody who might be interested in what I'm offering.
And it is what is it that you're offering?
I'm a communication confidence coach. I offer what I call the three-legged stool of effective communication. Your messaging, how you present it both orally and visually, and getting over the fear of doing it.
Okay. And you have been in business offering this?
Yeah.
Okay. And you have clients?
Yeah. Well, I don't have many right now because my whole business kind of shredded while my husband was ill.
Okay. But you do have one?
I have past clients.
Okay, good. Because they're going to help you to frame that out, right? Because what were those 3 words when I asked you what you do? What were three words?
I'm a communication confidence coach.
Okay, good. That
And I
kind of
came up with the word confidence, by the way, because when I did market research, people kept telling me, I don't want to feel stupid. I want to feel confident.
it's off the top of my head, I would change that to confident communication. See, nobody cares that you're a coach. I'm not big on labels, but that's me. When somebody says, what you do, I don't tell them I'm a coach, I'm a consultant. I tell them the outcomes. I say, my clients tell me they get this result. So when you go back to your clients and you ask them, why did you hire me? What have you gotten out of the work we've done together? How are you ripe? And by the way, you don't want people getting rotten, so you want them ripe. What results have you got? How have you improved? And you hear what they say, and then you're going to start talking in outcome language, not descriptive language. When people say I'm a life coach, it makes me crazy. I just like, what is a life coach? You're going to teach me how to live? I mean, I'm not trying to be facetious, but I mean, when I hear that, and again, it's not your fault. That was another big marketing lie that came out about 7 years ago. After all the gurus realized that 90% of their students got nothing out of their courses, a new marketing mantra was born. Somebody thought, oh, I'm going to say to them, Marjorie, it's not your fault. It's our fault. We've been misleading you all these years. But now, after all these years of misleading you, we're going to take responsibility. It's not your fault. By the way, that's true. There was a whole movement toward marketing that you go back and look at advertisements and you'll see how many of them said, it's not your fault. You've been misled. You've been mistrained, misguided, smuggled.
They haven't said smuggled yet. I was waiting for you to say that.
Okay. So the difference between you saying, when I say, what do you do? And you saying, I'm a confident.
Communication confidence. It's
Okay.
right in communication confidence coach.
Right. It's a tongue twister. above and beyond I like words to flow. So I think it would be stronger for you to say, I help my clients tell me I help them to become a confident communicator. You don't have to use a label when somebody says, what do you do? That's our reaction because we have the shroud of I'm a, etc. Right? But it's better to say, my clients tell me that I'm one of the best in the world at helping them become a confident communicator. How would you like to be more confident in your communication? So again, you do whatever you like, but little shift in words, sometimes shifting a word from front to back makes all the difference. So we are definitely going to help you with that. And what is your main issue that we want to address?
I'm when it comes to enrolling clients, my percentage is in the toilet.
Well, we'll have to flush that away. Good. Okay. That's a big issue. And so we're going to spend a good chunk of our time helping you become a confident converter of customers. How's that?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else want to chime in? I know we're running a little bit longer, but if we're not going to get cut off, let's keep going a few more minutes. Anybody else want to share And if you don't want to share that, if you would, before we close, if you'd be kind enough, I'd like to go around the room, being as many of you have been here from the beginning. Would you please share with us one or two things that you thought were most valuable and useful from today? And I'd love to hear from somebody we haven't heard from.
I'll give you
Arse-
just, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ryan.
I said Orsine. It was.
Orsine.
I was just going to share with you, my role and position is a little bit different. I'm a specialized trainer with a law enforcement agency, so I provide training to staff and work on things like recruiting and retention. And so I've kind of branched out into some of these sorts of sales focused trainings, looking for ways to, I guess, reframe how we present some of our things, because with training, a lot of times it's almost like we're trying to sell the training to the staff to get them to buy into it. And today, like, I found some of your, stuff about customer feedback to be really valuable. Some of it's stuff that we already do. Some of it's just a different way of looking at it, because when you provide training to people, some of what you provide has to be, it's mandated, right, by policy and things, and you have to do it even if everybody hates it. But if we can find out what people find appealing about other trainings, what they're looking for, what they want to get out of things, and then try to incorporate more of that into our mandatory training, sometimes we can get a little more buy-in, so I think that's been helpful. And then with that recruiting and retention piece, I actually found your the 4 criteria kind of interesting when I think about it from the standpoint of selling to a new employee the idea of a career long-term with our agency. Like, if I think of working here as almost like a product I'm trying to get them to buy into, it sort of changes the way you present it to people, because we have huge turnover. And I think a lot of the turnover comes down to people being either, a lot of it's unwilling to do all the things that are required of the job, the scheduling, the different trainings and tasks and whatnot. Or they're just not able. People think that it's going to be a good career path until they realize their lifestyle doesn't support shift work or things like that, and they're not, not able to change that. So yeah, I mean, I found it kind of useful. I'm not really in a position to do a lot of, buying into long-term sales pitches and things, because being a government employee on the, doing this for my job, they're very selective in what they'll pay for.
What is the retention, the attrition costing them?
Ooh, it's got to be extensive. I mean, we probably hire well over 100 people a month. And I think our turnover rate is at least 25 to 30% in most areas of our state. So, when you look at how much time and effort we're putting into training new people, and a quarter of them are gone within 3 to 6 months, if not more, it's pretty amazing how much we're putting into training people that just don't stick around.
Would you be better off hiring 50 people and having 90% of them stay?
I believe so. and that's, I guess, the other sales part of this is when I come across, okay, ideas like that, how do you sell that to the powers that be up the chain of command?
If you could sell that to the powers that be, would it help them and help you? Because I gather you're responsible for a good portion of this.
I'm sort of a cog in the machine. At my current position, I'm not much of a decision maker in those roles, but I provide a lot of feedback to the people who are, whether they take it or leave it. And longer term, I'm looking to move up that chain over the next 5 to 10 years. So
I think maybe we can have a separate conversation about you maybe being in a position to go to them and say, I have maybe a solution for you, because I can imagine whatever they're paying to bring people on and train them and then lose them, it's got to be a big number, no matter how you cut it. Not to mention the frustration, the aggravation of putting so much time and energy into training people who disappear So maybe if they had better, stronger criteria up front, they could, separate out the people who really weren't committed if they knew what they were facing, what they had to do. So maybe it'd be worth just a conversation with Matt and me. So thank
Cool.
you very much for attending and sharing. It's great to see that we have people from the machine, so to speak. John had a question, but I don't think he's still here. John, Kuchna, okay, he had a private question to me. Okay, any other comments? Please let us know what you got out of today, and was it a good trade of your time?
Copious notes.
That's good.
Great.
And while you're thinking, let me just mention, please put your email, a direct message to me with your email if you want the replay, because some of you, I don't know your email. And I can also send you the session that Mitch and I did from December 11th if you haven't already seen that. So just send me your email and just a private here in the chat, and I'll make sure you get the replay and the previous session.
Yeah, but the replay is in, for those of us who have the program, the replay's in there, isn't it?
Yes.
Not yet, because no, not yet.
Not today's, obviously.
we have to load it in, and being as this is the first session, Matt is referring to something else we
Oh.
did was
No,
review
no.
session.
Yeah, no, I was just asking if that other session was loaded in yet.
It was put into another platform, you're right, but not into this program.
Not in this platform, it's in another platform. But this session will be in your membership area within a couple of days. I have to get my guy to do it. So the replays are usually up there within 24 to 48 hours.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, John. John said, I got 50 years of wisdom today. That's pretty good for an hour and a half. So
Appreciate the comment. Anything else? Okay. For those of you who are in the program, we'll be contacting you shortly this week as to when our next session will be. It'll probably be 2 weeks. We'll give it 2 weeks for you to have a chance to get into the membership area, get into some of the materials, try some things out that you really need to work on, digest things. Don't be intimidated. There's a lot of material, but look at it as an encyclopedia, a reference library. Now, it is sequential, so you could go from beginning to end if you want to binge or take, one thing in order. But if you need help with something right now, like reactivating customers, you can go into the reactivation game plan, and there are, I think, 3 different models that you can use right away with very little training and start reactivating past customers. So you control your experience. And if you're having any challenges at all, Matt, would you put the help at the newgameofselling.com in the chat? So if you're having any questions, or you can also put your questions 9 as well. Maybe that's a better one.
Would be really helpful for me to know if you're planning to do these every other week, or do you have any schedule in mind?
Yes, every other week. That's the schedule we have in mind. We just haven't picked the day yet because we haven't finished enrolling people who may want to join us. So we'll know that, but look for the week of the 25th, and we may do it at this time.
it seems to be a pretty good time for everybody, right? 12:30.
I can't do it at this time. I had to reschedule. So we'll get back to you, and we'll make sure it's a time where everyone can join us. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Alrighty.
Any other comments? Chris, I appreciate. Mary, anybody? John?
And thank you for your chats too. I've been answering folks in the chat as well. So.
All right. Going once.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate the time today. I've been interrupted a few different times, but I think I've tracked pretty well with what was said. So I can't comment intelligently beyond that. But no, I greatly benefited from today. Thank you.
Oh, great to hear.
Right.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to chime in before we adjourn? Okay, so for those of you who are going to continue on our journey, reach out in between our sessions. If you have a question, point of clarification, you need access to something, you're not sure, by all means, reach out to us.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it.
You
Okay.
are welcome. Enjoy the rest of your week.